Have you ever wondered what drives the world's economy? How do countries trade, and why do some nations thrive while others struggle? Today we begin with the timeless principles from The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith, the father of modern economics, whose ideas laid the foundation for today's financial systems. From absolute advantage to modern trade theories, we'll unravel the key concepts that shape international finance, empowering you to navigate the world of global economics. Let's embark on this journey together, exploring the power of finance, trade, and economics by understanding the international finance. Are you ready to take on the global stage? Welcome to Skill Fusion Green Life Channel, where it is all about creating positive, practical changes in your well-being through skills for your health and wealth growth. The Wealth of Nations and its relevance to international finance. Introduction to international finance. Before diving into Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations, it's important to understand the basic concepts of international finance. International finance deals with financial transactions and decisions that cross national borders. It includes the study of foreign exchange markets, international trade, global capital flows, and the policies affecting financial transactions between countries. It is a critical field for understanding how nations and businesses manage resources and risks on a global scale. Key topics in international finance: foreign exchange, the trading of different currencies in global markets; balance of payments, a country's record of all economic transactions with the rest of the world; exchange rate systems, methods by which the value of a country's currency is determined; international capital markets, markets where businesses and governments raise capital across national borders. Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations. Adam Smith, a Scottish economist, published The Wealth of Nations in 1776. This book laid the foundation for modern economics and is widely referenced in international finance studies, even though it predates contemporary finance theory. Main concepts from The Wealth of Nations related to international finance. 1. Division of labor and specialization. Smith's The Wealth of Nations opens by describing the division of labor, which refers to breaking down production into distinct tasks that are performed by different workers or entities. This specialization boosts efficiency and productivity, a concept that translates well into international finance. In international finance, the division of labor occurs on a global scale, where countries focus on producing goods or services they are most efficient at, due to factors like natural resources or expertise, and then engage in trade. This is the principle behind comparative advantage in international trade. 2. Invisible hand of the market. Smith famously coined the term invisible hand, suggesting that when individuals pursue their self-interest, they unintentionally contribute to the economic well-being of society as a whole. In international finance, the invisible hand can be seen in global markets where supply and demand determine currency values, interest rates, and capital flows. Even in the absence of direct government intervention, these markets tend to find equilibrium through natural economic forces. Number 3. Free markets and trade. Smith was an advocate for free trade and minimal government intervention in the economy. He argued that if countries are allowed to trade freely, without tariffs or other restrictions, the global economy would benefit as resources are allocated most efficiently. In international finance, this is the basis for modern free trade agreements and the belief in liberalized financial markets. Countries and businesses engage in international trade and investment because of the mutual benefits derived from open markets, efficient capital allocation, and greater access to resources. 4. Comparative advantage and trade. While David Ricardo later formalized comparative advantage, Smith laid the groundwork for understanding how nations could benefit from specializing in what they do best. He believed that unrestricted trade allowed nations to produce what they are most efficient at and trade for the rest. In international finance, comparative advantage is a core principle in international trade theory. Countries export goods in which they have a comparative advantage and import goods in which they have a comparative disadvantage, leading to a more efficient global economy. 5. Value of money and capital accumulation. In Smith's time, money and capital were already recognized as fundamental to economic activity. He stressed the importance of accumulating capital, money, and other assets used to produce goods to fuel economic growth. In international finance, capital accumulation is critical for international financial markets. Nations build wealth and invest in foreign markets through foreign direct investment, FDI, portfolio investment, and capital markets. These investments fuel economic growth and create jobs. 6. Role of government in the economy. While Smith promoted free markets, he recognized the importance of limited government intervention in areas like infrastructure, defense, and legal systems. He believed the government should provide public goods that the private sector cannot efficiently supply. In international finance, governments play a role in regulating and stabilizing international financial systems through monetary policy, exchange rate policies, and fiscal policy. For instance, central banks manage currency stability and control inflation through interest rates and money supply adjustments. Application of the wealth of nations in modern international finance. Although The Wealth of Nations was written centuries ago, its core ideas have a significant impact on how modern international finance functions. Let's connect Adam Smith's principles to key components of international finance. 1. International trade and globalization. Smith's advocacy for free trade is at the heart of modern globalization. Countries today are interconnected through trade agreements like the World Trade Organization, WTO, and free trade zones, promoting the unrestricted flow of goods, services, and capital. Example: countries like China specialize in manufacturing due to low labor costs, while nations like Germany excel in high-tech industries. Trade between these countries follows Smith's idea of specialization. 2. Foreign exchange markets. The concept of the invisible hand is evident in the foreign exchange markets where currencies are traded. Currency values fluctuate based on supply and demand forces, and governments usually allow markets to set exchange rates, though they may intervene to stabilize their currency when necessary. Example: a country's currency appreciates when its exports rise or its interest rates are higher, attracting more investment. 3. Balance of payments. Smith's ideas on trade and capital accumulation feed into the concept of the balance of payments. This is the record of a country's economic transactions with the rest of the world, including trade in goods and services, capital flows, and financial transfers. Example: the United States imports more than it exports, resulting in a trade deficit, while countries like China or Germany may have trade surpluses. 4. Capital flows and investment. Smith's emphasis on capital accumulation is mirrored in how countries manage their foreign direct investment, FDI. Multinational corporations invest in foreign countries to take advantage of local resources, labor, or markets, expanding global capital flows. Example: companies like Apple invest in factories in China to reduce production costs, boosting China's capital reserves. 5. Government intervention in financial markets. While Smith argued for minimal intervention, modern international finance acknowledges the need for government oversight to prevent market failures, financial crises, or excessive inflation. Central banks intervene in foreign exchange markets and manage interest rates to control inflation or stimulate economic growth. Example: during the 2008 financial crisis, governments worldwide intervened to stabilize financial markets and prevent a global recession. Keys marks. Take home for international finance. Adam Smith's core ideas of specialization, free trade, and minimal intervention remain vital in understanding today's globalized economy. International finance builds on these principles to explain how nations engage in trade, capital flows, and foreign exchange markets. Governments and international organizations play a critical role in managing these interactions to ensure stability and growth in the global economy. Generally, this summary covers the foundational ideas from The Wealth of Nations as they relate to international finance, providing students with both historical context and modern applications. Detailed explanation of international finance, Part 1. Definition of international finance. International finance, also known as international monetary economics, refers to the study of financial transactions that occur across national borders. It involves the management of exchange rates, foreign investments, balance of payments, and global monetary systems. International finance examines how countries interact through trade, investment, and financial markets. It is a critical field for understanding the global economy, foreign trade, and the policies that influence cross-border financial activities. Why do countries trade with one another? Countries trade with one another primarily for the following reasons. 1. Differences in resource endowments. Nations have varying natural resources, labor forces, and capital. For instance, Saudi Arabia has vast oil reserves, while Japan has limited natural resources but excels in technology and manufacturing. Trade allows countries to specialize in what they can produce efficiently and import what they cannot. 2. Differences in production capabilities. Some countries are better equipped to produce certain goods due to technological advancements or lower production costs. Trade enables countries to focus on goods they produce at a lower opportunity cost and import goods that are costlier to produce domestically. 3. Increased variety and quality. Trade allows consumers access to a broader range of goods and services. For example, a consumer in Europe can enjoy electronics from Japan, coffee from Brazil, and fashion from Italy. 4. Economies of scale. By trading internationally, companies can produce goods on a larger scale, which reduces production costs. For instance, automobile manufacturers benefit from producing cars in large quantities for global markets. 5. Political and economic relationships. Trade fosters diplomatic ties and economic cooperation between countries. Trade agreements can strengthen international relations and improve political stability. We have two main theories: classical theories of international trade and modern theories of international trade. Classical theories of international trade. 1. Mercantilism. Definition: mercantilism is an early economic theory, popular from the 16th to 18th centuries, that suggests a country's wealth is measured by its stock of precious metals, like gold and silver. The main goal of mercantilist policy was to achieve a trade surplus, exporting more than importing. Key principles: promote exports and restrict imports to accumulate wealth. Use government interventions such as tariffs and quotas to protect domestic industries. Example: European countries in the colonial era, such as Spain and Portugal, used mercantilist policies to accumulate wealth by extracting precious metals from their colonies and restricting imports. 2. Adam Smith's absolute advantage theory. Definition: Adam Smith's theory of absolute advantage, introduced in The Wealth of Nations, argues that if a country can produce a good more efficiently, with fewer resources, than another country, it has an absolute advantage. Trade allows countries to specialize in goods where they have an advantage. Key principles: specialization and trade benefit both countries. Countries should focus on producing goods they can make most efficiently and trade for others. Example: if Portugal can produce wine more efficiently than England, and England can produce cloth more efficiently than Portugal, both benefit by trading wine for cloth. 3. Comparative cost advantage theory. David Ricardo. Definition: David Ricardo expanded Smith's theory with the concept of comparative advantage. A country has a comparative advantage if it can produce a good at a lower opportunity cost than another country, even if it doesn't have an absolute advantage. Key principles: countries should specialize in goods where they have the lowest opportunity cost. Even if one country is more efficient in producing all goods, both countries can benefit from trade. Example: even if the US is more efficient in producing both cars and computers compared to Mexico, it may have a comparative advantage in computers. Mexico, with lower opportunity costs in car production, should focus on cars, and the two should trade. B. Modern theories of international trade. 1. Heckscher-Ohlin theory. Definition: the Heckscher-Ohlin (HO) theory, also known as the factor proportions theory, explains international trade based on a country's endowment of factors of production: land, labor, and capital. The theory suggests that countries will export goods that use their abundant resources and import goods that require resources in short supply. Key principles: countries export products that use their abundant factors intensively. They import products that use their scarce factors intensively. Example: China, with a large labor force, exports labor-intensive goods such as clothing and electronics, while countries with abundant capital, like Germany, export capital-intensive goods such as machinery and automobiles. 2. Product life cycle theory. Raymond Vernon. Definition: the product life cycle theory, developed by Raymond Vernon in the 1960s, explains the stages a product goes through from its introduction to decline. The theory argues that the location of production shifts over time from the innovating country to other countries as the product matures. Stages. Introduction. New products are initially produced in the home country to meet domestic demand. Growth. As demand increases, the product is exported to other developed countries. Maturity. As the product becomes standardized, production shifts to developing countries to lower costs. Decline. Eventually, production may concentrate in the cheapest locations, and exports may return to the original innovating country. Example. The production of personal computers began in the US, but as the product matured, production shifted to countries like China and Taiwan to take advantage of lower labor costs. 3. New Trade Theory. Paul Krugman. Definition. The New Trade Theory, pioneered by Paul Krugman in the 1970s, emphasizes the role of economies of scale and network effects in international trade. It suggests that in some industries, the presence of large-scale production gives certain firms a competitive advantage. Key principles. Trade allows for the specialization and concentration of production, reducing costs through economies of scale. Markets with high demand for a product can support multiple firms, leading to innovation and efficiency. Example. The aircraft industry is dominated by a few large firms, such as Boeing and Airbus, which benefit from economies of scale. Countries with established companies in these industries maintain a competitive edge in the global market. 4. National competitive advantage. Michael Porter. Definition. Michael Porter's theory of national competitive advantage, introduced in the 1990s, focuses on why certain industries within particular nations are internationally competitive. He developed the Porter Diamond Framework, which outlines 4 factors that contribute to a country's competitive advantage in a specific industry. Porter Diamond Factors. Factor conditions. The country's resources, e.g., skilled labor, infrastructure. Demand conditions. The nature of home market demand for the industry's products or services. Related and supporting industries. The presence of competitive supplier industries. Firm strategy, structure, and rivalry. The domestic competition that drives innovation and efficiency. Example. The Swiss watch industry has a national competitive advantage due to skilled labor, high demand for luxury watches, and a strong network of supporting industries like precision engineering. Take-home 1. Classical trade theories focus on the importance of free trade, specialization, and the efficient allocation of resources through concepts like absolute and comparative advantage. 2. Modern trade theories explore factors like economies of scale, production shifts, and competitive advantages that shape global trade patterns today. 3. An addition to that is globalization and trade. As countries engage in international trade, they optimize their resources, access diverse goods, and benefit from economic growth. Briefly, by understanding both classical and modern theories of international trade, students can grasp how international finance functions and how countries benefit from trade in the global economy. If you're ready to take your skills and well-being to the next level, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Remember, at SkillFusion Green Life, the only limit is the one you set for yourself. Let's learn, grow, and live together. See you in the next video.